You're listening to Health Professional Radio. My name is Wayne Buckler, and today I'm joined by Dominique Hes. Dominique's Senior Lecturer in Sustainable Architecture at the University of Melbourne. She has degrees in Botany, Engineering and Architecture, and is the Director of the Thrive Research Hub at the University of Melbourne, and is a fascinating person because she's going to talk to us about plants and kids and the research she's been doing. Dominique, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, Dominique, you better fill us in about what it is you do and where you do it, and particularly, what is the Thrive Research Hub?
So the Thrive Research Hub is a group of academics in the built environment across all the disciplines. So we have finance and construction and architecture, planning, landscape and urban design all working together to try and bring more real solutions to the ground in our cities. So we ask questions around sustainability and how people can really deal with a lot of the issues that we're dealing with in both social and ecological in our cities.
And I'm fascinated by this work because it never occurred to me in a million years that plants and architecture went together. Tell us, what is Plant Life Balance?
Plant Life Balance is an app that was developed through the funding of Hort Innovation, and it's an app that allows people to, lots of people have heard that plants are good for them, but there are also some myths around, that they accumulate dust and so forth, and there's little clarity around the research around the benefits of plants. So what Plant Life Balance does is it brings that ability to see the benefits of plants in your home to your fingertips.
Now, why is it relevant, and particularly, why is it relevant to health professionals?
Right, so it's relevant because being connected, having plants within our buildings connects us with nature, and that connection with nature is something that has been shown through many research projects. We summarised 101 for this particular app, but shows that we are more effective, more able to be innovative, communicate better, productive, intuitive. It really helps us to function better as people when we are connected to nature. And since we spend so much of our time indoors, having those plants around us creates that more relaxed outcome for our brains. It goes back to our evolution. We spent a lot more time in nature in the past than we have now, and our brains evolved in nature, and so they are just more relaxed when we are connected to nature, and that's called the biophilia hypothesis.
Dominique, I'm intrigued that your research has shown what my grandmother always said. When we were kids, she was forever telling us to get outside, go and play in the garden. So building plants in, obviously, your research shows has some benefits. Why did you undertake the research?
I'm fairly passionate about giving people the tools to make the best decisions for themselves, and so being able to make the benefit of plant research accessible was really important and something that I'm very interested in across all of the various things that Thrive does. And particularly, I'm a bit of a nature lover and a pot plant lover, and so it was a personal interest as well just to collect the information that made me feel certain about which plants to choose and where they should go, and what the benefit would be for myself and my family of having those plants. I'm particularly interested in the, as you mentioned, the connection between plants and kids and nature and kids. Mm-hmm. And within the Plant Life Balance, we looked at 11 studies that were specifically looking at kids from sort of grades 6 upwards. So there aren't many studies with plants and kids younger than that, but from grade 6 upwards, and those studies show increased concentration, better ability to communicate and socialise, lower aggression. Interestingly, even having plants in rooms where kids can't see them, so if they're doing in a classroom and they're doing an activity, just having the plants around them will improve their cognitive abilities, with a couple of studies actually going as far as looking into science and maths and spelling scores and connecting those to having plants in the classroom.
Now, I can hear some of my sceptical audience going, she's just a greenie. She's just going on about plants. Is the research rock solid? Is this something that you would go and argue for budget for in schools?
Absolutely, and not just schools, hospitals as well, which I guess is very interesting for your audience. The research is rock solid that if you have either views out of windows to nature in hospitals, or you have plants in rooms with children and adults, then they get better quicker. They require less drugs. They are generally less stressed, and that goes back to that base brain fight flight. If we're in nature, that bit's more relaxed, so all the higher functions and the body's less stressed, and so we just heal quicker. And within schools, we are able to be less stressed, and therefore we can concentrate more. So it is fairly rock solid.
It's intriguing research, Dominique, and you've inspired me now to put some pot plants in my studio because it will make me feel better, I'm sure. What's the biggest misconception that you find when you talk about this stuff?
I think people worry about the maintenance aspects of it, and in a corporate sort of environment, there are companies that will look after the plants for you. But within a school environment or a home environment, the looking after of plants can be part of the joys of being connected to plants. Can be part of the jobs that the kids do, and that's also actually shown to create a benefit. So giving kids responsibilities over looking after living things, we know. They're there with pets, but they're also there with plants. And so, I think that's one of the main misconceptions.
I, as you were talking, I was thinking, yes, if I dribble water down the side of this pot plant onto my amplifiers, I'll be in big trouble. What about the people who say, they kill every plant they've ever touched? They don't have green thumbs.
Well, there are plants that are less hard to kill.
That's what I need. What about a plastic plant?
Yeah, well, the research has actually shown that, a picture of a plant trumps a blank, empty room. A plastic pot plant will trump a picture of a plant, and then a real plant will trump a plastic plant. And if you get a variety of plants and you have that diversity, then that will trump a single type of plant. So, if you're worried about dribbling water down your amplifier, then I would grab a beautiful non-real plant that doesn't need water. But there's one study I actually wanted to mention, which was done in Brisbane with 360 Year 6 and 7 kids. Where they had a baseline of their performance, and then they introduced just 3 plants into every classroom. And they found an increase in maths, science, and spelling scores of 11 to 14%.
It's astounding. Are you surprised when you see the results of some of the research?
Yes, I wasn't expecting such a big number. Yeah. I wasn't expecting such a big number because that is really, I'd like to go speak to the schools and say, okay, what else was going on? Were you giving out free lollies or something? Yeah. but that this was one study, and specifically one for Australia, but across the studies, there was one study of 101 schools in Michigan, so that's a really large number of schools, where they were looking specifically around how students felt about themselves and their future. And they showed that in those schools, if the kids had views out windows to nature, to trees and so forth, not so much to lawns or car parks, but if they had views out to trees and sort of more natural hills and so forth, then there was almost a 5% increase in awards that they got. They graduated more often, and almost 13% had more than the control schools had aspirations to go to university. And so, there are quite large studies internationally that also point in the same direction.
And no kind of 0.0001 results. These, when you're talking, up around the 10% mark, that's a big, obvious result.
Yeah, that's a tap dance singing hallelujah kind of result.
Academically, yes.
Yes. There was another one I wanted to mention.
Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Which was specifically medically. So they looked at 66 people in a windowless biomonitoring area, and they had a control, and then they brought in a bunch of flowers, and then in another one they had no flowers but just the scent of lavender, and in another one they brought flowers and the scent. And they actually showed positive results in EEG and skin temperature, and there are all these acronyms. So EEG, EDA, ST, and zippers. They showed, which basically meant that there was less fear, there was more comfort, more relaxed, and people were less stressed by the whole situation of these tests. And I think for a hospital situation, that particularly when you're dealing with kids that may not know what's going on, just having, some flowers in the room, or even particularly for the females, just the scent of lavender already relaxed them.
It's extraordinary that it hasn't just become standard practice on those sorts of results to have much more plant life indoors in our schools and hospitals, and I guess our homes as well.
Well, the results then translate to home. It's less. Your children will be more relaxed, and there'll be less chance of. If you look at the research, less of the social disconnection. It doesn't mean it doesn't occur. It's just of a lesser extent. If you look at the metadata on connection of kids with plants, and it's what Richard Louv wrote about. We've created this nature deficit disorder, where we've disconnected our children from nature, and because of that, they're turning to more things like screen time, which is also quite stressful for the brain, and they have no place for that base brain to relax that we talked about before, to have those biophilic experiences. And so it is really important, particularly as we move to more apartment living and so forth, to bring as much as we can of that nature inside. And if you do kill plants, well, put in some beautiful photos and imagery.
Dominique, I'm sure that we've intrigued people today. How can they get a hold of you if they want to reach out?
So they can contact me at the Thrive Research Hub at the University of Melbourne. Always happy to respond. They can download the Plant Life Balance app. It's a free app. It's just won the Webby Awards, which apparently is the Oscars for online
It is
things.
Indeed a big deal to win a Webby, yes.
Yes, well, that was another woohoo moment for us. And, and if they go online, there's a Facebook site where they can get where people can get answers if they have questions about plant life balance. And online, if you just do look at the website, you can download the scientific research if people are interested in more detail. And
that's at plantlifebalance.com.au.
That's correct.
Dominique, thank you for making yourself available today. I realise that you're a busy academic and 1,000 pages to read every hour, but I do always love having a chat to you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for your time. Have a lovely day.
If you've just joined us, then you've just missed a fascinating conversation. I've been in conversation with Dominique Hes, Senior Lecturer in Sustainable Architecture at the University of Melbourne. Dominique's got degrees in Botany, Engineering and Architecture, and is a Director of the Thrive Research Hub at the University of Melbourne, and has been talking to us about the rock-solid, irrefutable research about the benefits of plants in our lives, and particularly with reference to kids. So, having told you what you've just missed, I suppose I should tell you now how you can catch up. On our website, we have a transcript, so you can read the whole story, but you can also listen to the interview again. We have a sound archive on iTunes, YouTube, and SoundCloud, and you can head off to those and download the whole interview and listen to it again. If you're listening to us on social media, click all the buttons, please. Tell us you like us. Even if you don't like us, tell us you're unhappy. If you have a question, any of the media channels will come to us and we'll be happy to answer it. This is Health Professional Radio. My name is Wayne Buckler.